So they say that once you've gone with a standing desk, you'll never go back, and I've now been using the Maidesite S2 Pro Plus as my main desk for just over a month, and I can completely agree with this. I would never dream of going back to a standard desk. And being able to use the desk up at this height is great because it's certainly going to be better for your health. Rather than sitting at a chair the whole time, you're getting up and down in varying your position, which is going to be much healthier for you. But even when you're sitting at the desk, that ability of being able to move the desk up and down by even just a short distance is going to relieve any pressure you have from sitting in that one position. So it's not only going to be more comfortable for you, but because you're more comfortable, hopefully you're going to be more productive as well. So the version of the desk that I've got, the S2 Pro Plus, is Maidesite's flagship desk. And not only does it look absolutely stunning, but it's also really functional. It's got 3-stage dual motors, which means it gets up and down at a nice fast speed. It can support an awful lot of weight, but importantly, it's also really quiet. It's also got really good integrated cable management on the underside of the desk, which means you're going to be able to come up with a really clean setup like I've got here. And certainly when I'm making a YouTube video, having this in the backdrop looks absolutely great. And hopefully you've noticed that in my recent videos compared to the blank wall behind me, this new setup looks much better. And I've been really trying to up the standard of my YouTube videos recently, and this has really helped me, certainly when I'm editing the videos, but also looking great as a backdrop. I've also upped the lighting, I've done a bit of work on the sound. So there's still one thing that I'm just not happy with, and that is the IKEA desk that I'm currently using to build the PCs on. There's just too much movement on the desk, and whenever I'm moving a part in or out, or working on a PC build, the shaking from the tabletop is really visible. So this got me thinking, I'm currently using a standing desk to actually work on. What if I was to use a standing desk to actually build the PCs on? So I reached out to Maidesite and they've hooked me up with another S2 Pro Plus to use for my PC builds. So let's go ahead and get the desk built and see does it solve my problem. So the desk comes in 2 boxes. The tabletop is in the larger box while the rest of the desk is in the smaller box. It's great to see that both the desk and the tabletop come with plenty of protection around them, preventing them from getting damaged during transportation. All of the screws come individually packaged and labelled, and you also get a screwdriver and Allen key for the assembly, although I opted to use an electric screwdriver throughout the build. The first step in the assembly is to set the crossbar ends onto either side of the lifting columns, and then you're going to secure each of the crossbar ends on with 2 screws labelled 1 from the accessory bag. Next, we're going to want to attach a side bracket onto each of the lifting columns. Again, they're secured with 2 screws labelled 1. Then we need to slide the 2 centre rails in between each end. It is important that the open end faces toward the middle of the desk and the narrow edge of the centre rails is facing upwards. Then we can set the feet onto each end and secure each of them into place with 4 screws labelled 4 and 4 washers labelled 7. Next we can set the assemble frame onto the tabletop, and then we just need to slide it apart to where it lines up with the holes on the tabletop. We can then secure the frame to the tabletop with 8 screws labelled 3. We can then secure the control panel to the tabletop with 2 screws labelled 5. Again, we're going to use 2 screws labelled 5 to secure the adapter to the tabletop. We're then going to plug the cable coming from the adapter into the control panel, and with each of the cables coming from the lifting columns we're going to add an extension cable and then also plug it into the control panel. Into the other end of the adapter we're going to plug in our power cable, and then we're going to route the other end of the cable to whichever end of the desk you want it to be coming down from. Tucking all the cables in and out of the way, we're then going to add the 2 cable management covers. These are each held on with 6 screws. The 2 outer screws on each end are the ones labelled 1, while the 4 screws in the middle, it's the ones labelled 2 that you're going to want to use. Then we can manage the power cable coming down the leg with the self-adhesive cable clips. The final optional step is to replace the feet at the bottom with casters. The feet at the bottom simply unscrew and the casters simply screw in, and then at the end you're going to want to tighten up each of the casters using the included wrench. So assembling the desk was really straightforward. The instructions are really good, and having everything individually labelled in terms of all the screws makes it really straightforward. You're not having to guess which size of screw goes where. So hopefully this is going to make my YouTube videos much easier to film and also hopefully be a bit more of a stable platform. So I popped the case up on top, and if we give the table a little bit of a rock, it is much more stable than my previous IKEA desk. At the moment I have got the casters, the wheels on at the bottom, and I don't have the brakes on, and actually shaking the desk it is fairly stable. If I did actually want it to be a bit more stable, I could of course put the brakes on the wheels or actually use the feet that came with the desk. But the big advantage of the casters is I was always worried about having a big heavy desk in my YouTube studio and not being able to move it about that easily. But what I can do is I can move it nicely over to the side when I'm not building a video, so I can still use the room. Whereas I think if I had kept the feet on the desk, it wouldn't be quite so easy to do this. So I think this is going to be really, really useful. I hadn't realised the new version of the desk that comes with the casters, whereas the original version of the desk that I got didn't. And there has a few wee changes with this desk compared to the original version, which I reviewed on the channel maybe about 6 months ago. If you haven't seen that video, I'll put a link to it in the description, because in that video I go through all the features of the desk in real detail. I don't want to do that here because I don't want to duplicate things. So if you do want to find out everything about this desk, and I would very strongly recommend it, you'll find a link to that video in the description. One of the other things I think is going to be really useful for when I'm building PCs is having the height adjustment on the desk. For example, whenever I want to capture the top of the desk, I'm having to raise my tripod up really high to try and get a shot off the top. What I can do now is just hold the down button, bring the desk all the way down, so I'm not going to have to shift the camera quite as much. And you see that's it all the way down at the bottom, so that's going to be easier to get a shot of the top of the desk. The other nice thing is there is presets that you can save onto the desk, so I can have different heights for different things and just press the button to get the desk at exactly the same height. For example, I've set 2 as the top height, so we'll send the desk all the way up and I'll show you how tall it can go. And again, this could be useful. For example, you're trying to get a shot of underneath the desk. Again, it's going to mean I'm going to have to do less adjustments with the tripod. But you can see just the massive amount of height adjustments we have on this desk. So again, I think it's going to be very rare I'm going to need to do this, but it's useful to have it. And we may as well test the stability with the desk up at the top. So it obviously does rock a little bit more at the top, but it is important to remember that we're on the casters and I don't have the brakes on, so I can't slide the desk from side to side. So we'll bring it back down again. 1 takes it down towards number 1. And one of the other really cool things this desk has, it has collision detection. So if I was to put my hand underneath the desk, it's going to stop when it hits something and raise itself back up. So it's not going to damage anything if you press the down button and there's something underneath the desk. Again, there's alarm features built into it. If you're using it as a normal stand-sit desk for working at, it's going to remind you to change the position of the desk after a certain amount of time. So this is actually the third Maidesite S2 Pro Plus desk that I own. I actually bought myself a second desk for my second setup a couple of weeks ago. I've only started using this a month ago, loved it so much, and then hated my second setup because it wasn't a stand-sit desk. So I have spent my own money on one of these desks, and that's probably the biggest endorsement that I can give it. So like I said, if you want to find out more about this desk, you'll find a link to it in the description. You're going to be seeing a lot of this in my PC builds going forward, and it is hopefully going to let me take my PC builds to the next level. And a big thank you to Maidesite for sending me out not only 1 but 2 of these desks for my YouTube setup and building desk. If you have enjoyed this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up, and if you're not currently subscribed to the channel, please hit the subscribe button as well. Thanks for watching.